and welcome to Tyra Mini Reads, Reviews, Discusses, Monologues about everything and anything, and that's on period. Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. So today I wanted to do my regular reading wrap up, and this will be for the month of October 2025. I typically average about 5 to 7 books in a month, and this month was no different. I actually finished 5 books in October. One of them was a Booktook Darling Gone Wrong, and another one was a Booktook Darling Gone Right. So I mean, yeah, 2 books that were, Booktook-ish, and I had different reactions to them. So stick around to the end to find out those books. But without talking too much, let's get right into it. So the first book, or one of the first books that I finished in 2025, October, was Nightbloom by Peace Adzo Medie. Adzo Medie wrote His Only Wife. She's a Ghanaian writer, author, and her writing is really good, phenomenal. I read His Only Wife a while ago, and it's still one of my top books. And so Nightbloom came out this year, and I bought it earlier this year. I just didn't have the time to get to it. But I knew it was going to be something that I liked. Now, yes and no. And there's a reason why. So it's not like I didn't like the book. Let me just go ahead and say what the book is about, really. So we follow 2 cousins, Akofo and Selassie, as they grow up in Ghana, and we follow them through a couple of events that happen. And then we see, or, from literally the synopsis on the book, we realize that these 2 are no longer on good terms. They are not friends anymore, or they're just not as close. And they were supposedly best friends. So we're trying to get to the root of what caused this drift. The reason why I said I did not like this book was because what Peace Meto did was she wrote Akofora's POV from start to finish, and then she wrote Selassie's POV from start to finish, and then we get like the last 20%. It's kind of a mixed bag with Selassie's POV, Akofora's POV, that kind of stuff. This is good and this is bad because you have to, like, I read Akofora's POV. I put it down for a bit because I had stuff I had competing priorities. I had to put the book down. But when I picked it up, I started at Selassie's POV. Now, some of the events that had happened in the first portion of the book, I could not really feel the impact by the time we get to Selassie's POV because it happened so long ago, right? So that's why I said the book just was like, that little thing. I wish we got them concurrently, like both cousins POV. That way, the weights, or, you would feel the impact of what happens or what is being discovered in Selassie's POV. So, I mean, it was good, but I don't know. It was just, I feel like I missed, like, I didn't have that gap. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, this is why this happened, So I feel like if it was maybe done in such, because, you're thinking people are going to read the book all true. That's not typical. That's not the case. I mean, in my situation, that wasn't the case. So I was at a crossroads. I would have had to go back and reread Akofoa's POV so that when I was in Selassie's POV, things that were happening then would make sense. And that's why I felt like, the enjoyment of the book was just not there for me. And then the ending was also kind of off. I would say, like, one thing I have noticed with African writers is they don't give you stories that have a cute bow on top of it. All the loose ends are tied. It's really vague and, like, your interpretation. So I have learned to expect that. But this one, I just felt like, come on. Like, Akofoa's mother should have, like, yeah, I'm not going to say that, but you know what I'm saying if you've read the book. But yeah, let me know if you've read it. What did you think about the writing style, the 2 separate POVs? And what did you think about Akofoa's mother? Again, I have done a video on this channel where I talked about African books that has great impact, and I feel like a lot of people should read it. And what we see, or Akofua's mom, when we read her POV in the books, I was like, yeah, see, this is why sometimes people end up doing more harm than good, just because something happened to them and they're like, oh, I want to make sure it doesn't happen to my kids. Yeah, maybe that particular scenario doesn't happen to your kids, but there is an effect, another effect, or another thing that could happen from them, but you're so blinded and so focused on the wrong thing. So it was a good read. It was a good read. I would definitely recommend it. Let me know if you've actually read Nightbloom. What did you think? Was it great? Did you like it? Did you love it? I mean, I just want to know. Anyways, I'm going to go to the next book that I finished in October of 2025, and that would be Children of Ruin by Adrian Tchaikovsky. Now, I've talked about this book a lot. I don't want to go into it too much, but this is a space opera book, vastly different from Hyperion, or is it that different? I don't know. It's the same. We're going to space, but basically in this scenario, Earth has been destroyed, and so we have two sets of groups that we're following. We have the first explorers who have been sent on a mission, let's say 500 years ago, to try and terraform random planets in space. And then we see events happen 500 years later where Earth has now been destroyed, and the last dregs of humanity is like, hey, we remember our ancestors or forefathers actually decided to go terraform space. So time has passed. We should have planets, right? And so they're like, yeah, I think that's how. And so they build these things called arc ships, and they're like, woo, we're going on an adventure, and they jet off into space. One thing I would say about this book is that the time is a construct, because these people are basically in cryo for like thousands of years. Is mind-boggling. But in addition to all of that part, there's also another layer to the book where we see a certain species also getting terraformed at the same time as the planet, which is so fascinating. That's, I think, one of my best parts of this book, is the fact that, one, the species is something that is so unique, like you would be surprised, like, wow, okay, so the first book had one species. The second book kind of had like two species, but it was still a very phenomenal read. I am excited for book 3 because I actually started reading it. I just haven't gone. I'm like maybe 20 pages in, but now the author has established the world. So in book 3, you kind of see how he structures, this is the terraforming age, this is the modern age, this is the period when Earth was destroyed, and we get this little, synopsis of that of those ages. So I think that's very, very phenomenal, and I definitely enjoyed Children of Ruin. I definitely will pick up Children of Memory, which is the next book in the series. One thing I will say is the species in Children of Ruin, oh my God, like fantastic. I would have never thought that that was something that could be anything. Like it's just, it's fascinating, honestly. So if you've read it, let me know if you liked it or not. Okay, so now we're gonna go to my Booktook darling that went wow wow. And that would be The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. I got this book earlier this year. I think the book also came out this year. I haven't read any of this author's books before. This is my first one. So it wasn't a bad book. It was a fantasy-ish book. So I think when I read the synopsis about this book and what actually prompted me to buy it, because even though it's a Booktook darling, I will also do my research just to make sure that it is something that, piques my interest. In the synopsis, there was something about talking gargoyles. If you know gargoyles from, what is this, Nostradamus, or the Duke, the Dame, I can't remember. The Count of Nostradamus, I think. It's a old Disney cartoon, but oh, no, I remember The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Yay. Yeah, that's the one. So you had gargoyles in that cartoon, right? That kids show. So when I saw this, I was like, wow, that kind of just gave me that nostalgia. I was like, okay, let me pick it. It might be good. It's not like it wasn't good, but there were a couple of things that just wasn't working for me. And it was like magic realism to a fault. The world wasn't fleshed out. Like you just kind of felt like it was like a box. And since it was a traveling story, they kind of went like A, B, C, D, and then they were backwards. So it wasn't, there was no immensity in the book. I just literally felt like they went down the street whenever they said, oh, they went to this so town or country, and then the it the tags, or one of the tags, is like enemies to lovers. Okay, enemies to lovers is, it's not that easy to pull off. Like, no, this one, I agree that they were kind of enemies on first sight, because Six, that's who we follow, Six and Rory. Six gives a good reason why she immediately hated the guy, right? And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I think Rory also had a good enough reason as to why he didn't like Six. What I think was not done so perfectly or so well was how they became the friends and how they became the lovers. It just felt like one day they just were like, oh, yeah, we like each other now. So yeah, we're it. Like, it wasn't done in a way that I felt like was convincing enough. I mean, yeah. I mean, the enemies part, top. But the friends to the lovers part, like, no. I no. It's like they just woke up one day and were like, oh yeah, we like each other. Let's suck faces. So yeah. So it wasn't that. One last thing was, there's a certain character in this book that does a complete 360 by the time we get to the end of the book. Doesn't make any sense, comes literally out of left field. And to be quite honest, I am not one who reads a book and tries to guess like, oh, this person's gonna do this. I like to just read and let my experience just be. I wasn't thinking too much. I wasn't. I mean, maybe some characters you can be like, oh, this character's is a no, but this one, it came out of left field for me. And the reason why is because there was literally no plausible reason as to why this character would do a whole 360. And I'm sure if you've read the books, you know who I'm talking about. And I feel like this author did that just so she could have a book two. And so I'm a bit worried about book two, because I'm like, so what is book two going to be about? Like, really? Like, this is so not necessary. I don't know. I mean, it's interesting enough that I may pick up book two, but maybe I've read all the books in my shelf in my library, and I'm like, literally I have nothing else to do. Then I'll pick the book two. But I don't think I would be buying it. This will have to be a like a library borrow or something like that. I am not buying this book because don't play with me like that. But yeah, let me know if you read The Night and the Moth. What did you think about that ending? Did you see it coming? A lot of people, online were like, "Oh my god, I saw that coming." Oh, okay, fine. Here's your gift, or here's your here's your prize. I did it, and again, that's not a bad thing. I'm not reading it for. I want to be pleasantly surprised, but this one was not. It just wasn't working out for me. I'm sorry. Okay, so now I'm going to do my best read of the month. Maybe best read of the year. I mean, I have a couple favorites this year, but this one will definitely make it into that list because it was so good and it was so surprising that I would like it. I mean, it was so weird. Okay, so enough suspense and enough building up the suspense. So I read Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinniman. And I have to say, I have a friend who has, previously told me about lit RPGs, but I was like, yeah, this is just not my thing. I just like traditional books. I'm not really into any other types of, genres. And I especially don't really like RPGs, right? So I was like, I was hesitant, but then I got this on sale, the ebook. So I had some downtime. I was like, you know what? Let me actually get into this book. If you are familiar with Dungeon Crawler Carl, this set of books have made waves, like significant waves. I can't exactly remember when they came out, but there's been talk about, in fact, the author, I think he has or currently has like a book thing going on. So it's a very popular book series, and I have heard about it. I just wasn't really like, I was like, it's just not my thing. But I got it cheap, so I was like, okay, let me try it. And boy, I finished Dungeon Crawler Carl, and I jumped right into Carl's Doomsday Scenario, which is book 2, and I will definitely go on to book 3. So take what you will from that. Let me just say that it's good, really, really good. So what is what is Dungeon Crawler Carl? Basically, we have this dude called Carl who his cat makes her way out of the window in the middle of the night, let's say like 2 a.m. And Carl is like, oh, Donut, that's her name. Her name is Donut. She got out. I need to go get her back in. Pet owners can understand what that whole thing is about. Anyways, it's the middle of the night, so he goes out, doesn't have a coat, doesn't wear shoes, and basically the whole world is annihilated. Like every building or every building basically is wiped out. So he's like outside, and like the whole building just like bloop. He's like, whoa. And then there comes on this announcement where it's like a like a hostile takeover where, this AI thing is like, yeah, Earth has now been wiped off. This is because of blah, blah, blah. I can't tell you the reasons. I honestly, because I don't remember. But basically, you have an opportunity to save yourself by participating in something called a dungeon crawl. And if you're able to make it through all of the levels, you will be set free, that kind of thing. I think it goes on to maybe level 19. I'm not sure. I'll have to check. But it does go, there is a lot of levels. You kind of basically start from level 1. And so the cheeky AI is saying, hey, we're going to have places, gates that are going to open up. You need to go in. Once you go in, you can't come back out. If you do decide not to go in, you will just have to survive by yourself. And obviously, basically, everyone that was in the buildings were dead, which was like, oh, that sucked. So anyway, obviously, Carl and his cat, Donut, Princess Donut, decide to participate in the dungeon crawl, but not because of anything. Carl is just like, I'm cold. I don't have a jacket. That place looks warm. I'm just going to go in. So he goes in. And basically, it's like when you are playing a video game where you have stats come up, like your health. You can see, the skills that you have. And, it's like an interface that only you can see, obviously. And then it tells you, it's basically like when you're playing a video game, right? So that part was really cool. But I think the one thing I really like about this book is the AI. So we have a very cheeky AI. Now, every time Carl completes a quest or does something, the AI just has this monologue where he's like, oh, you did that. Good for you. Hoo hoo. I'm just like, that is like the funniest part of the books. Is just the cheeky AI going off and just coming up with various scenarios. Another thing that I also like is there are references to pop culture things that are, really current ones. For example, there was a chapter there was a point where Princess Donut said something like, oh, Stranger Things, and this is why Barb was not famous or something like that. And I was like, okay, like I just did my rewatch for Stranger Things because it's coming out soon. And I was like, I know exactly what you're talking about, Princess Donut. You are absolutely correct. So I really, really, really immensely enjoyed this book. I'm not even going to, I have nothing else I can say other than it's a really good book. And one of the best things you can do as an author is introduce your genre to new people, like people who haven't read it before, in a very digestible and easy way. And I think Matt Dinniman crushed it on that note. Like I just didn't feel like I needed to keep a lot of things or know a lot of things because I don't do games. Again, I have to stress it. I'm not a lit RPG person, but this was like really good. I'm like, maybe I need to rethink some of the things that because I feel like I'm like so focused. I'm like, oh, I'm a fantasy girl, but I definitely am pleasantly surprised sometimes when I read some other genres, and I'm like, you know. So yeah. So then so basically, Carl has to go through all of the layers in the dungeon. He has to level up, and he has to obviously basically survive to get to whatever is the last level, and be free from the game. They fight a lot of weird stuff. You know, the game comes up with weird stuff, and obviously we're dealing with aliens here. So humans have, you know, you have some humans. Obviously, it was a human planet that was wiped out. So, but the people that are the owners of the games are something called the Coatzin. So they're like an aquatic kind of people, like fish, not people, but alien kind of things. But then we also are introduced to different aliens and different kinds of creatures, which was really nice. You can tell like a lot of detail, a lot of innovation, a lot of thinking went into writing this book, and I really appreciate it. So then we go to Carl's Doomsday's scenario, where, you know, this one had to do with like a clown kind of quest, and something else about like the over city. So Carl is once again trying to race against time. First of all, to double his skills, find the stairways to the next level, and, you know, complete the quest. So I think basically that's like the flow of how these books are gonna go. Is Carl has to double his, you know, his current level. He has to find the next stairwell, and he obviously has to survive. So you know, I definitely enjoyed reading Carl's Doomsday Scenario. Another thing is we also kind of get snippets of information about the weird alien people and how they have their own factions and, you know, internal strife and all of that stuff. I think that's brilliantly done. And then we also get some snippets of Carl of who he was before, you know, this whole thing happened to Earth. Um, pretty much, Princess Donut is not even his cat; it's his ex-girlfriend's cat. So we, you know, get POVs from Princess Donut, we get POVs from Car, and just, you know, flashbacks. And I think it wasn't overused, the flashbacks. I think it was done in a really mellow, really good way. So I definitely will be continuing on the book 3. And there's 7 books out, so I mean, I still have a ways, but they're easy to get into. It's not so hard. So I am officially welcoming myself to the cult of Carl. Ding. But yeah, so those were the books that I read in October of 2025. Definitely a stellar month. I think I had such good reads: Children of Ruin, all of the Matt Dinniman books. The other two, yeah, they were okay. But yeah, I think it was a good read. All it was a good read, pretty much. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Let me know the books that you you read in 2025 of October, or October 25. Let me know if you read any of the books I talked about, or you can also recommend books that I could maybe talk about in my next wrap up. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Please share, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Until then, bye.